Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here's some words I really want you to contemplate, think about, and relate to. He who kneels before God can stand before anyone. How true. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America on a Tuesday, and I want a real-life patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance right now. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch on this Tuesday, June 23rd. Already, my goodness sakes. Brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Also, let's not forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Now let's go to the phone line and start the day off right with the Pledge of Allegiance. Proudly, good morning, caller. You're on the air. Maybe. Shaun, do we have anybody there for the pledge? Hello, is there anybody on the other line? Please tell me. For some reason, we're not hearing anything. I don't know if are we having technical difficulties or not. Shaun, is there someone there for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've been waiting. Is there anybody there for the pledge?
Well, someone's calling in right now.
All right, let's see if we can't get somebody on the air. I mean, I have no idea why we were off there for a moment. I apologize. But let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance right now. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Please, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. That meant a lot. You did a great job. Appreciate it. And have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Right now, we're going to go to the weather forecast quickly and run a little bit late right now. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Don't forget, they have the best of tools and equipment for rent. To you, long and short-term rental. And believe me, everything you need to finish a project is right there at K&R Rental with Roger and the crew. Number to call, 678-3122. And right now, here is Gina with the weather.
Warmer temperatures for the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather forecast for today. We are expecting sunny skies with a high of 88. Not much of a breeze to speak of. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 93. Slight chance of rain showers and thunder bumpers for Wednesday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 62. That chance of rain showers and thunderstorms is going to stick around for Thursday as well. Mostly sunny skies, high of 84. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
I'll tell you, equipment for long and short-term rental, believe me, K&R Rental can help with what you need to finish a job or a construction project. They've got all the power rakes. They've got all the lawn and garden equipment, all the rototillers. I mean, they've got it all for you right there at K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Roger and the crew, 678-3122. Want to also give a great big shout-out and a thank you to our friends over at Darrell Daryl's Cleaners. I know that Kevin is back at business, and he's back in the shop and ready to serve you with the best of dry cleaning and the care of your clothes. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They are the best at what they do. And along with the dry cleaning, they also do the washing. When you don't have time to take care of it at home, wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Shaun, I need to have a good word before we take that caller from the Silver State Stampede.
The thunder of hooves, the thrill of the crowd, family entertainment at its best when the Silver State Stampede roars into Elko July 10, 11, and 12 at the Elko County Fairgrounds. Bring the family and enjoy 3 big days of PRCA rodeo action, along with the Old West bronc riding, mini bull riding, the Acapa Riders, mutton busting, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dance the night away to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws. Get your advance tickets today at J.M. Capriola Company, IFA, the Boot Barn, Roy's, and the Elko Chamber of Commerce. The best in the West is waiting for you at the 2020 Silver State Stampede, July 10, 11, and 12. Don't miss it. For more information, visit us at silverstatestampede.com. Silver State Stampede will be following all of the Nevada Governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
Thank you very much. And right now, I also want to give this note of sadness because I'm sure going to miss this lady. She was outstanding and one of our lunch bunchers, and I just really enjoyed visiting with her. She'd call me occasionally on the phone, and I'm talking about Rosa Goff. Rosa was an outstanding lady and so friendly, and I'll never forget her laugh. She had a laugh that was so infectious, and I just know that God's got a great person up there with him this morning to visit with, and that's, of course, Rosa Goff. I was so saddened by her passing, but 95 years of just being a really nice person, and I want to extend that to the family. Rosa Goff meant a lot to us, and our condolences to the family. Calls in just a minute. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday for literally all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And I'm telling you, now with the warmer temperatures, we're supposed to get up around 80, high 80, 90, and that's warm. And you might need that air conditioning unit to have new filters. Well, they've got all your filters right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, you've been very patient. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Ted.
Yes, sir.
So yesterday morning, I called in about unemployment insurance and the Social Security to try to give people an understanding of why and how it worked. But I had my facts straight. I knew exactly what I was talking about. But later on in the program, I called in and said I was disappointed in Fox because they seemed to be leaning to the left. And you immediately corrected me. At that time, Zeb, I learned a valuable lesson. Get your facts straight before you spread the word.
Well, you know, what can I say? I respect you for saying that, and I've always respected you. I think you and Nancy are some of the nicest people I've ever met. But I absolutely adhere to the fact that when I go on this program, I not only check, but double check, and in some instances, we even have to triple check because of variances in the way the news is presented by various companies, whether it's Associated Press or whomever. And you just have to make doggone sure what you say is going to be 100% pure, or you can open up a Pandora's box of trouble, which the Democrats and Republicans both are really good at sticking their foot in it.
You know, the old saying about taking a pillow out in the wind and cutting it open and let the feathers fly and then trying to gather them back up, that's what we're talking about. You cannot correct something that came out of your mouth.
Well, right now, Keith, it goes without saying, last night was a very dangerous night in the United States because we saw the resurgence again of Black Lives Matter, a worthless, I want to emphasize this, a worthless group of anarchists that are trying to change, alter, and destroy the values and constitution of this country, along with Antifa and others. What they did last night in Washington, D.C., and what they have plans for in other cities around the United States is absolutely abhorrent. And I'm going to fight them. I'm going to denounce them. And I want to make this point clear for everyone listening right now. If you have young people in your family or you know of school teachers that are advocating the Black Lives Matter group and the following and adherence to that group, you better read a little bit about them and find out what a Marxist communist group this is and what their thoughts are about changing and destroying America before you start marching and the Times News follows along with a stupid camera giving them all the advertising. I'm upset about this morning, and it's about high time society started learning what's really going on.
Well, the truth will set you free.
It's not going to set me free because I'm already free. But what I am objecting to this morning, and I want to make this point clear, Keith, very poignantly clear, that a member, a spokesman for the Black Lives Matter came out yesterday. His name is Shaun King, and he said that all of Jesus' images on the cross and in churches are a form of white supremacy, and they should all come down. We're talking about our churches. We're talking about Christianity. And we're talking about these sleazy, filthy vermin that are trying to knock America apart, take down all vestiges of respect and honoring of people in the past, especially our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. What's going on here, Keith?
Well, it's terrible. And last night I tried calling you because there was a program on. It was court or other. It's on Grit. I don't know that you get it or not, but it was called Black on Blue. And it was a terrible, terrible show.
Well, I tell you what, I did not, I was gone. I was out of the house all last night. Didn't get home until late. But I do appreciate your call. I've got to catch up. I've got a guest. I'm going to be doing something different this morning I normally don't do, and that's have a guest on at 8:30 that was at the Trump rally the other night. So, Keith, I got to gallop. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Don't forget Dino Septic Service. Septic tank pumping, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections, liquid waste removal. Oh, my, these are jobs you don't want to do, but they do, and they love serving you. Dino Septic Service. Numbers to call 436-6526 or 678-1638. I'm talking about fast, fair, friendly service, all of that. These people are good at Dino Septic Service with the big truck that says, smells cargo on the way to serve you. Dino's Septic Service. Big shout out to Doug Martin, my dear friend at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. He is selling the business. He says, yep, I'm going to retire, go fishing, and just have a good time for a little while. Absolutely, I don't blame him. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street in Hayburn. Number to call, find out more about this business opportunity, 878-4991. That number again, 878-4991. It is a turnkey business operation, meaning it's ready. Shop, tools, everything, and Doug will help finance and also train the new buyer. Call him, 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. I have, honestly, we're not going to weaken on this subject, and pastors out there in the church land, I hope that you have the moxie to write your sermon for Sunday about the evil that is taking place in this country. Shaun King, Black Lives Matter, said it's time for anything resembling white Jesus to be expunged from the public square. And he also said that churches with stained glass windows should be smashed and broken. He said, I am absolutely in support for tearing down images of Christ. Do you not see, America, how evil these people are? And again, I reiterate, the wonderful, established Times News newspaper gave a lot of credence in last Sunday's paper to the marchers for the Black Lives Matter. These kids haven't got a clue as to what they're marching for. It's just something to be in protest about. Black Lives Matter is evil. Evil. How many more times do you have to hear it? Just like Antifa and the rest of these kooks and crackpots that are out there trying to destroy America. And what do we do? What do we do? Nothing. We do nothing. Whether it's from the pulpit and clergy to you and me, we sit back and go and do nothing. Where are our senators and congressmen? Where's Crapo? Where's Risch? Where's Simpson? Oh, boy. Fulcher and the rest of them. Why aren't they standing up in condemnation of what's going on? Crickets. That's all you hear is crickets. Calls are welcome, 4-3. Maybe you don't agree. See, this is the point, folks. We're at a tipping point right now. This isn't being theatrical. It's being honest. These low-life animals, that's what they are. They're even attacking and tearing down World War II statues, honoring our troops, our fathers and grandfathers that gave the ultimate for this country, their lives. They're tearing down everything. Last night, they absolutely just went in and demolished and destroyed the front of St. John's Church, a church over 200 years old in Washington, D.C. These are anarchists that need to be put down, and I mean the words put down. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I want to tear down anything that resembles America. They want to change history. They want, what would happen if the people that we have here started tearing down statues of Martin Luther King and the rest of them? Would anybody do anything about that? You bet there'd be more rioting in the street.
Oh, there would be just absolute chaos because Whitey is fighting back. Well, it's not right. I would never advocate anything like that, and I know you wouldn't either. But the point is, Tony, this idiocy has got to stop. We are seeing nothing but anarchy in our streets. The local and state governments are not doing anything. They're not smart enough to. Mayor Jenny Durkin in Seattle is absolutely an albatross around the neck of decency. She should be replaced immediately. The governor of Washington, Jay Inslee, is a joke, but nobody's laughing. This has got to stop.
Well, we've got the likes of John Roberts and Mitt Romney and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. They're all on the same page when it comes to trying to tear down Donald Trump.
Yeah. But when you start...
Why we don't send the troops in, because if we don't, every city in this country is going to go up in flames, and George Soros is jumping up and down about what's happening.
I could not agree more. Tony, stay safe. You and Mary, God bless you, and I mean that. Thank you so much. Thank you, my dear friend. Oh, I tell you, we are in frustrating times, and I sit here in the morning and read all these stories. I must have 50, 60 stories in front of me regarding what's going on around the country, and then this imbecile, I've got other names, but I will not use them on the radio, about this Shaun King with Black Lives Matter, saying that he would like to see Jesus. Think about it, Christians. This imbecile with Black Lives Matter is saying all images of Jesus should be torn down because they're a form of white supremacy. Does that not concern you? Does that not want to make you call the pastor of your church and say, wait a minute, you got to start talking about this at church. Christianity's under attack with these people. Oh, well, they don't want to make waves. Don't forget the Rupert 4th of July celebration, and thanks to a lot of the great, great people over there in Rupert. And the activity list is just absolutely going to be fun for everyone. And I urge you to be a part of it. And the theme this year, Rockin' in the USA with Grand Marshals, Charlie and Lori Creason. Main sponsor is PMT, and they're going to have a customer appreciation luncheon on Monday, June 29th. And then on the 30th, early in the morning on the square in Rupert, the Christmas lighting breakfast. That's always a lot of fun. Wednesday, of course, July 1st, patriotic programs. God bless them for that. Thursday, of course, don't forget they've got the 3rd annual mutton busting at the fairgrounds. And Friday, July 3rd, the Firecracker 500 lawnmower race. Look out. Put your helmets on. And then, of course, Saturday at 11 o'clock, the world-famous parade at the Rupert 4th of July celebration for 2020. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. No, I will not apologize. No, I will not back up. Don't even think about asking me. When you start saying things like, we're going to tear down images of Jesus and tear down the churches with the stained glass windows. Here's what he said. All murals and stained glass windows of white Jesus and his European mother and their white friends should also come down. They are a gross form of white supremacy. How about it, Methodists? How about it, Lutherans? How about it, Mormons? How about it, Catholics? How about it, all of you? Are we going to sit there and go, oh, well, we're going to turn the other cheek? Baloney. Denny's Restaurant, don't forget, at 611 North Overland in Burley. Absolutely wonderful people. Thomas, Michelle, the whole outfit serving you. They did a wonderful job this last weekend with their summer fun campaign down at Denny's, America's Diner. Oh, it was great. Food, outstanding. Service, they really, really care. I urge you to stop in. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Desserts, anytime, all the time at Denny's Restaurant. And they have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, for the best of food and just really nice people, you're going to enjoy America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. I talked to Shaun earlier this morning. And as I said, we're going to do something a little bit different out of our norm from the first hour of the open forum. And we're going to have a guest on here that was at the Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know that country really well. I've got a lot of friends back in that area. And we're going to have this gentleman on the air right now. Shaun, do we have Adam Weiss ready to go?
Yes, we do.
I appreciate it. Adam, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Hey, Zeb. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Well, I want to ask you something first and foremost, because I do not want to mispronounce names. Is it Weiss or Weiss?
The latter, Weiss.
All right, Weiss. I appreciate that. I went to school with members of the Weiss family. Whether they were relation of yours, I don't know. We haven't got a lot of time, so pardon me, go ahead.
Were they from Brooklyn?
No, they were from southern Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
All right. Adam, Adam, tell me, you were at the Trump rally, and give us kind of an overview as to what you saw, what you felt was happening, what kind of negative responses and remarks were made. Give us kind of an overview of what you saw and heard.
Okay. Real quick, since I've been living I live in New York City, and I've been on lockdown for 3 months, I decided last minute, somebody got me access to a client, so jumped on a plane Thursday, flew to Dallas, took a car ride for 4 hours, got in Tulsa, decided to go outside. By Thursday night, there were 3 long lines of people waiting to get in. I asked one young guy, he sells Trump merchandise, about 25 years old. I said, he said, this is my 64th rally. I sell Trump merchandise, and I made a business out of this. I said, and then I met a couple of the people that have been waiting there 4 or 5 days just to get into the Trump rally, sleeping on beach chairs. So if anybody's ever been to a Trump rally, it's fascinating, the different people you meet. So the day of, you get the rally starts at speech about 7, but people start flooding in about 2, 3 o'clock. When I got it seemed very crowded to me, about all day. It seemed probably held about 18,000 people. I'd say there's probably 10 to 12,000 people in it. So it seemed crowded. There were patches that were empty. But, we had for the last week and a half, we had a media hysteria breakdown of people doing everything possible to discourage people from going. They're going to get sick again. Tulsa, COVID's on the rise. One article, one TV segment after the next. If you heard so many of those different segments, who's not going to be scared to go, right?
Yeah.
To the rally.
Adam.
I find that with the RSVPs, too. I talked to a couple of people, retired cops said, my wife, RSVP, she wanted to go. She never got a response though. I spoke to other people in my hotel. They drove for 3 hours. I said, did you get like a confirmation? No, we never got anything back. We just winged it. This is very bizarre. So, I saw wonderful people that were there. I saw a mostly packed house. But, the top levels of the campaign, they did a blunder. If we wanted to, let's, for example, go to our favorite musician, favorite concert, day somewhere in between when they announce it, we're told that 1 million RSVPs come in. Are we going to go? We're going to say no. 1 million RSVPs will never get in. So from the beginning, instead of that announcement, 1 million RSVPs, they should have lowered expectations. The president's on his first campaign rally in 5 months. He wants to get out and see his people. If it's crowded, great. If it's packed, great. I want to go see Middle America. I don't even need Oklahoma. I don't need Oklahoma. I don't need to go there. I just want to show support of the country.
Right, right. Adam, let me jump in and ask some questions right here. First and foremost, did you ever feel ill at ease for your own security because of some of the reports of the left may be trying to start trouble back there?
Right. They've already put out stories that Tulsa's on the rise. How is that possible? You need 2-3 days in advance. It's morbidity rate to say, like, oh, this is going to spike. You can't tell right away. I mean, the mainstream media said the next morning that spikes are on the rise because of the rally. It's so misleading what they do. I felt safe. They did a temperature check to everybody that walked in through there. The rates are really low in Oklahoma. Even the testing is such on the rise everywhere. The rates that it's so misleading in the media. They keep saying, positivity rates are on the rise. Well, if you test 10 times as much in every state, of course it's going to be on the rise.
That's right.
Most of the people getting it are young. They get it. They don't even, a lot of them don't even feel it. Nothing even affects their bodies. But, it's this nonstop barrage. It's on the rise. It's on the rise. Is deaths on the rise? No. Is hospital admissions on the rise? No. So we test 10 times. Well, we find out people have it. That's great. Then they won't get it again.
What about, Adam, as far as the left with protesters, and I am surprised, I got to be honest with you, that there wasn't more of a show of idiocy by the left in trying to stir things up. Did they at any time, the left, did they try to hamper or stop people from trying to get through the gates to go in? Was there any confrontations that you witnessed?
I didn't witness any. I saw a few protests. I mean, the morning of, it's very difficult to get to Tulsa. It's not like if it was in a bigger city, a bigger state, then it might be easy for these rebel rousers to get there. It was like just to get to Tulsa. When I looked up the flights, I just decided Wednesday night, and I looked up, let me get to Tulsa. One way was like $1,200. So
yeah,
I flew to Dallas, which was easy. I saw some protests. When me and my colleague went to the diner Saturday morning, the day of the rally. I walk in, there's a line sitting at the counter of BLM T-shirts. BLM. And the back said, stop the chokeholds on this. I look up, and two of them walked into the kitchen. They were the waiters. Like, this is great. The waiters.
Yeah.
Their own waiters are wearing these T-shirts. And
Adam, right there, I got to interrupt you and ask you a question because I know that you cover a lot of news. You've been in the media and public relations business a long time. And I'm going to be blunt. Black Lives Matter and Antifa, two very Marxist, anti-Constitution of the United States groups. Why? Why, in your opinion, is the American public accepting of these groups without really knowing what they do and what they represent?
I mean, the corporations of America are folding. I mean, if you have a non-stop barrage of American culture, corporations, the media, Hollywood, just, against traditional American values, against our culture, really. Even though Trump and the forces of good against, I could say evil here, but, used to say evil and you say just in a political sense, but now this is really evil. People don't want to destroy our heritage, knock down statues, burn buildings. I live in the West Village, and so 2 weeks ago on a Monday, I went over there, I was in shock, down Broadway. That's it. You look at it, you thought there was a little riot, right? No, I walked every store from Chanel was robbed. I mean, Rolex, $3 million in products robbed. Windows smashed down. This is like out of something you would see, and you never thought you'd see in our major American cities.
Yeah.
And if there was justice in the media 2 weeks ago, they'd be screaming at top of the lungs. If good American conservatives, if we broke the streetlights during the Barack Obama protests, that would be front page news. Right-wing activists, white nationalists break streetlights, okay, by accident. And then you have to go to page 20, it would be by accident, right?
Yeah.
But yet the left, Antifa, the Marxists are destroying American cities, setting up camps, and, and Hollywood, the culture. And now we have corporations in their pocket throwing $5 million. If I get one more email from a big corporation telling me they're donating $3 million and we have to bow to Black Lives Matter, I'm like deleting every one. But,
Adam,
they have not millions, they have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter now from corporations. And at the end of the day, it's all going to go to Joe Biden and the Democratic Party.
That's right. Adam, our connection is not the best this...
We have a battle against it. It's really hard.
Absolutely. Our connection's not the best this morning on the phone system, and I apologize, but we're trying to get you as good as we can. Let me ask you one last question in regards to the situation that... And I think we lost him. Shaun?
I think he just hung up.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can't reestablish quickly, and I'll do a commercial. I appreciate that. And maybe we can get him back on the air in a moment. But while I'm waiting, and I really wanted to ask him one other question. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, along with 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. They've got all the equipment for the lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying that you need to do. I mean, they've got the studs to go out and do the job. They've got all the bobcats, and they've got all the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators. Oh, you better not wait. You better get in there today. Super financing programs and lease rates at Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Back with us on the line, we reestablish the call again. We have Adam Weiss. Adam, I was going to ask you, after all this degradation and destruction of America, and they're in Washington, D.C. last night, and they went into St. John's Church, and they started more with the graffiti, and they're threatening to set up another zone like in Seattle. What's the answer, Adam? You're back there. You're in the midst of this thing. How are we going to stop this mess?
I think Trump has to take action. I mean, we can't sit around and let mayors that agree that are allowing this anarchy happen in our city. This is not peaceful protest, like the media said. Destroying churches, the historic churches, spray painting and lighting them on fire, setting up camps in the middle of cities, destroying statues, vandalism, urine, shooting, murder. What about that mayor in Seattle? It's Summer of Love. Meanwhile, over the weekend, somebody was shot and killed.
Yeah.
And the paramedics couldn't get in there because they wouldn't let the police in. What? This is not the country we live in, right?
Well, if I were to say to you,
I mean, if it's federal property,
yeah,
partly Washington D.C., we have to send guards in, National Guards in. We can't have anarchy if these mayors are that weak and are not allowed the police do their jobs, which taking away their. I think in Seattle they took away all their, other than firearms, all their usage to stop protesting and violent protesting.
Yeah. Let me throw this at you, and I'm a Christian, and I'm proud of it. and I will not back up or turn around and go hover in the shadows for anybody. But when Black Lives Matter activist Shaun King yesterday made the statement that Jesus' images should all be torn down and churches with stained glass windows should be smashed, what are your thoughts about this? This is total insurrection against our whole society and all that is good in our society.
But where are the ministers? Where are the preachers on the left?
Yes.
That say, wait a minute. The sharptons of the world, wait a minute. Should not be touching religious symbols in America, touching churches. It's dangerous. Don't they stand up for what's good and holy in our country and foundation of our religious, is anything not, touchable with these people, right? It's unheard of.
Shaun, Adam, let me ask you this in regards to our situation currently. If it's not stopped, and I'm going to sound like a redneck from Idaho, which is fine. I don't give a rip how I sound. I'm going to be honest. I said many, many days ago that it was time to bring in the water cannons and the dogs and get these people off the streets, and I maintain that's the way it should be. But if this is left to go and fester like a cancer, we're going to be seeing, I think, a real good photograph of what life's going to be like if the Democrats take over this country. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I think they need RICO statutes. The federal government, the FBI needs to get and arrest these organizers that are transferring interstate commerce, get them on the federal charges, because this is so organized with hundreds of millions of dollars. Think of the destruction that they're doing in these cities. Thousands of people are being paid to cause this chaos. What good? We're a good people. Americans are generally good people. I mean, you see 12,000, even though there's 12,000 people at that Trump rally. Nothing any of those people do are violent, bad. That's why people say, why is the left so good at protests? Well, we're good people. We don't look at let's destroy things. We don't look at life as let's go protest for crazy reasons and cause chaos. We want a holy America. And then this is on the left, if they're getting paid to destroy, we have to go deeper and find these people and set them on big charges.
Yeah.
And yes, they should take out the water tanks. You can't have American cities like this.
Adam, in regards to, we've got a caller with a question for you, but I want to make this statement. In regards to the Trump campaign for re-election, and that election is coming up faster every day, what are your thoughts? What are you hearing? How in the world can anybody support Joe Biden in the basement with no resignation of coming out of the basement and talking about his platform or what he wants to do for the good of America? What about it? What are you hearing?
I think, that's their goal, is to keep him in the basement, right? As long as he doesn't, and what they would love, there's nothing more than news media would love than to cause front page everywhere. And this 1 week before the debate, there's a spike in COVID. Every paper, there's a spike in COVID.
Yeah.
Should the debates be canceled, right?
Yeah.
Because Joe Biden, who probably can't remember his wife's name at this point, against Donald Trump in a debate would be, would make killer ratings, but would be absolutely a joke for Joe Biden.
Yes.
But then again, we have everything against us. They have a terrible candidate, but they want to keep him in the basement, portray him as some kind of moderate, appease his base to the left at one time, but we have a lot against us. I mean, we have the American people, but we have tech industry against us, censoring us all the time. We have the corporations against us now. We have the Hollywood against us, and we have probably 98% of the media against us.
Yes.
So, he's done great for the economy, but if these evil anarchists and the left, the people that are running this thing, they're finding one crisis after the next to cause chaos. They want to cause so much chaos in an American psyche, in America, that people can't handle it anymore and won't vote Trump in it again.
Oh, boy.
These are all manufactured crazy.
Yeah.
Even though, let's say COVID was real, but do we have to go through destroying the American economy for 4 months in every state?
Absolutely. You're spot on.
Have to.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here in New York City, and restaurants aren't even open yet.
Oh, my.
They were outdoor open yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't even go to a gym. In 3.5 months, I haven't gone to a gym.
We have a caller with a question or a comment, Adam.
New York City's fine, except for this Putz, the governor who caused so much havoc. He killed like 12,000 people from nursing homes.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
A city that is such a heartbeat of the economy of the United States is still on pretty much lockdown after 4 months.
Yep.
If that's not showing you what the agenda is from the liberal mayor and the governor.
Well, I can say this.
What else could it be? They all want to get the president.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say this. I've been to New York City many, many, many times. And when you see it on television with the different and various streets where some of the broadcast centers are, and you see virtually not more than 5 or 6 people walking down the sidewalk, that's not the New York City that I'm accustomed to. We have a caller with a comment for you, Adam. Stand by. Caller, quickly. I'm almost out of time. I'd really appreciate your comment. Fast. Go ahead, please.
Well, the comment is, everything is about scaring us today, and they talk about the number of cases. But here in the Magic Valley, where we're supposed to be a hotbed, I talked to somebody at St. Luke's. They had 3 people with the virus in the hospitals, and with all these cases. Yeah, I mean, this has been going on all over. They're scaring us to death, and I called the governor's office up probably at least 8 or 10 times, sent emails. Never replied, and he's continuing this lockdown, basically. I still can't go to the church of my choice because of this thing, but it's just ridiculous what's going on here. I just spent,
Real fast, caller. I haven't got a lot of time, Adrian. Really fast, please.
2100.
Yeah.
And, but it's all about getting rid of Trump, destroying the U.S. and world economy, so we can have this new global government under the United
Okay, let me have Adam respond. Shaun, if you would cut off Adrian, please, and I'm almost out of time, so I've got to hurry. Adrian, I appreciate your call, but I can't let you just go. Shaun, respond to the caller, or Adam, respond to the caller, please.
Yeah, do you think, respond to the call-in, do you think, for 1 second, on November 5th, if Biden is elected, we're going to see stories anywhere that COVID's on the rise? That's a good question, Edward, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On November 5th, all of a sudden, COVID's on the decrease. Everything can open up in America. I guarantee that would be headlines from the media across the country.
What are you hearing? Last question, and then I am out of time. What are you hearing right there in your environment on the East Coast? I mean, what are people saying about the election? What are people saying about Trump? What are people saying about the economy? What are people saying also conversely about Biden?
People, unless they're out in the open and conservative, like me in New York City, in the Village, they're walking around like zombies with masks on and saying Trump's bad guy, Trump's bad guy, Trump's bad guy. We have to stay on lockdown and follow the order. So what I'm hearing from the people on the ground here, a bunch of sheep, mostly in the Village, but my people are similar to the caller. But more and more people are getting through because Trump got more and more people have seen that I've never seen before since the lockdown that I didn't know were political. I mean, you probably see this too. You're like, wow, I didn't know Jim was political. And all of a sudden, since the lockdown, people were getting it. That this COVID is going on too long. They just have to get Trump, and just more and more of the general population, friends, colleagues, well, I didn't know you were political. I don't know you see this side. I didn't know you see that side. And it showed, but even though he didn't fill his stadium, Trump, he got 7 million viewers, over 7 million on Fox News, which is incredible. On a Saturday night, they usually get 1 million viewers. He got this America Voice News and a new outlet that I work with. They got 5 million views on their social media, Facebook, and all combined. That's incredible. They'd never seen numbers like that because they were filming all day from the Trump rally. So the numbers was so high online and on TV that might have made up for the lack for people not actually going there. So the enthusiasm is still there, right? And we've been told for 3-4 months, constantly being told to go on Zoom, stay in, watch on YouTube. Been brain dead to not go and push not to go to an event so much by the media and the government officials that it might have scared off people from actually going to this event as well.
Right. Adam, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to keep your name and number on file, and I'm going to use you as a real good reference as to what's going on back in your part of the United States. I want to compliment you. I know that you're involved in media and public relations, and I thank you for your time and effort this morning. Adam Weiss, thank you so much, and I hope you'll come back.
Thanks for having me, Zeb. Have a good day.
All right, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Caller number 2 calling in. I've got to get a weather forecast on, and if you want to stay on the line, I'll be right with you in about 60 seconds. But right now, I want to mention that our weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, they are located right behind the Minidoka County Hospital and, of course, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. They are the best at what they do. And believe me, when it comes to expert diagnostic testing for your hearing health, please get a hold of them today, 312-0957. We'll tell you more right after Gina and the weather.
Warmer temperatures for the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather forecast for today. We are expecting sunny skies with a high of 88, not much of a breeze to speak of. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 93. Slight chance of rain showers and thunder bumpers for Wednesday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 62. That chance of rain showers and thunderstorms is going to stick around for Thursday as well. Mostly sunny skies, high of 84. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, and brought to you and everybody by, of course, our friends, Dr. Christine Pickup and the staff at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. I had a little problem with my hearing, and they helped me. They can help you. Call the number 312-0957. Make an appointment today at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, you're on the air if you're still there. Good morning.
Yeah, I should have called sooner. I just wanted to ask him, if the people of New York City or the people of New York State would have to wake up and get rid of de Blasio, for the city and Cuomo for the state. But chances are that won't happen. And you say, just how much of this will you be willing to take? It's just like today at the State House steps here in Idaho at 8 o'clock. There were a whole bunch of congressmen, House representatives, and senators from the state of Idaho who were on the steps trying to get Brad Little to, stop doing what he's doing and admit what he has accepted as far as money. And, I wanted to go, but I'm too busy. And I just felt like, I've got to do my best.
Let me ask you a question, Randy. Randy, wait a minute. I can't let you just go on and on. I got to ask questions too. Are you absolutely, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, are you absolutely adamant that you would like to see a replacement, an apology? What do you want to do with Governor Little? Quickly.
Well, at this point, I think he needs to go.
Well, why? Okay, but now wait a minute, please, Randy. You were adamantly in favor of his support of Bills 500 and 509, which he stood up for and took it on the chin from the LGBT. So you're saying on this issue we want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater?
Well, I was told that he was, okay, when it came to those bills, he wasn't going to sign them until he was forced to do so by others.
But did he sign them?
Yeah, he did after pressure.
All right.
So I don't know.
I'm looking at a situation here, and I think a lot of us have to. You've got to look at the entirety. I disagreed entirely with the stand on the closure of the state of Idaho. You heard me say that on the air. I told him I disagreed with it, with the essential and the non-essential BS. That's what it was. But there are other issues that I absolutely say thank you, and that's signing of Bills 500 and 509. Everybody that's in favor of repealing those or suing the state are absolutely going against girls and girls' sports, and the percentages of what they're trying to support with transgenderism is absolutely ridiculously low. I salute the governor for signing those bills. So, my point is, are we going to say, okay, we want to throw you out on this issue, but we're glad that you signed this issue?
Well, yeah, he did some good, I guess, but right now, the damage that's being done to this state still, and they just reinstituted level 3 in Boise as of tomorrow morning or tomorrow night. The people, they can't survive it.
No,
and
I agree.
If you received $1.2 billion and he declared an emergency, and he became, totally in charge as far as martial law, but he never instituted it. Who is he consulting with?
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you, Randy, at all, and I'm out of time. I wish I had more time to discuss this. My point, wait a minute, we can't talk over each other, Randy, wait a minute. My point is, are we going to throw the baby out with the bathwater or have discerning issues of pros and cons for maybe a better term in office from this point on? I will never stand for another shutdown, not on this program, ever.
No, we can't, but like I said, because of the spike in COVID up in Boise, they've reinstituted level 3.
I know that. You just said that.
It's just, I don't know. I know that Raul Labrador is no longer the head of the Republican National Committee in Idaho, so he's probably going to make a run at Little.
All right, well, I am out of time. You can check your own wristwatch to check and see if I'm telling the truth. I've got to run to the news from CBS, but I do appreciate your call. Thanks, Randy. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, June the 23rd, and brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, if we could please have the good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
If you are new in this area, or if you're an old-timer like I am, by golly, I'll tell you what, you want the best in garbage collection, you get a hold of Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. It's easy. Call them at 734-6969. Tell them where you're at, and once a week they'll come by and get rid of your garbage. I'm telling you, they are the best. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Want to also give a great big shout out to a big event coming up in a couple of weeks down in Elko, Nevada. It's the Silver State Stampede. Shaun, if you would, please.
The thunder of hooves, the thrill of an 8-second ride, and all the fun of the PRCA Rodeo is at your fingertips this July 10, 11, and 12 when the Silver State Stampede makes its way to the Elko County Fairgrounds. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders, mini bull riders, Old West bronc riders, mutton busting, and the always popular Ring of Fear. A family day Sunday evening, and tough enough to wear pink on Saturday. Gates open all 3 days at 4 p.m., and you can dance the night away on Friday and Saturday to the music of the Moonshine Outlaws. Family entertainment at its best with the 2020 Silver State Stampede. Silver State Stampede will be following all of the Nevada Governor's directives, Nevada United Roadmap to Recovery Plan, as well as the CDC guidelines. The safety of everyone is our top priority.
Oh, thank you very much. That is going to be one good event. Always is. Silver State Stampede in Elko, Nevada. Don't forget to our friends, and they are our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, family, and staff serving you. Very flexible hours to just be there when you need them. Absolutely. Always provide providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, on Tuesdays, I absolutely look forward to a good friend coming on the program. He's with the American Energy Alliance, and when it comes to energy and all things related, he knows what's going on. Dan Kish, how are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm well and hope you are as well.
I am. You know, Dan, I don't want to get off the rails here a little bit this morning. I want to talk about the oil demands and other things, but honestly, I've known you and talked to you for a long time, and we've had you on this program for years and years, but aren't you, like I am, really concerned about the entirety of what America is and what it stands for? It's going down in crumbles this morning.
Well, I'll tell you something, Zeb. I mean, this isn't spontaneous. Anybody who believes that, frankly, should have their head examined, or I want to sell them a piece of property, that I don't own. There's a lot going on, and it's an election year, and that's why it's going on. I don't know how else to say it. It's kind of hard to believe that some people would be engaged in that sort of stuff, but that's exactly what's going on.
Well, I agree with you, and this is going to be very rude to say this on the radio, Dan, but if you don't mind my asking, I'm 72 years old. How old are you?
I'm 63.
Okay, well, we're basically within the same age bracket. Do you ever remember in your lifetime, I don't, all through the presidential elections and all the nominations, whether it was way back in the 60s with Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota and Proxmire and Goldwater and all those, never, ever has it been this nasty and this dangerous to the Constitution of the United States.
Well, never have the stakes been higher for people who thought everything was going their way and who, frankly, have got all the levers of power and culture at their disposal, Zeb. I mean, that's what's going on. They do not like what's going on. Some of them are actually happy about the COVID because it destroyed the economy that was doing so well. Because what we've been seeing is that when you get the government off the backs of the American public, the federal government, there's a whole lot of economic vitality. We can produce our own energy. We don't need to be beholden to these foreign powers. They want us to all have, run the country off of solar panels and stuff like that. They don't like judges that actually read the Constitution. There's just a lot of that going on. I don't know how else to put it.
Absolutely.
We're witnessing a huge battle here, and I hope people are prepared for it, because this is what it's all about.
You got it. This is where the rubber is going to meet the road, absolutely. And in adjacency to what you just talked about, running alongside is our energy programs, to which I am deathly afraid would absolutely go into the gutter with a Democratic-led administration. But what about the cuts in the oil supplies? And what about talking about spikes in oil in next year, 2021? I mean, you're the expert. What's going on with energy, and how bad or how good is it getting in the next couple of months and or years?
Well, what's happening is, because of the price decline, we lost some production capability in the United States, but that'll come back. I mean, that's just markets. The price of products goes up, it goes down. When it goes up, people go out and find more of it. That's the nature of our free market economy if the government doesn't get involved and goof it all up. But so in essence, I mean, what's happened is with a little bit of an increase in price that people have been getting, there's actually been a resurgence in production in the United States. Remember, it was just 2012 when then President Obama was telling us that we couldn't drill our way to lower oil and gas prices. We didn't have it. It didn't exist. God didn't give it to us. That all turns out to have been wrong. And the fact of the matter is, we've got a lot of oil. We're the number one producer in the world. And so if you just let people do what they do, and we'll have plenty of energy. That's not our problem. The problem is when the government steps in there and starts telling us what kind of energy we can buy, when we can buy it, how much we can use, what kind of cars we got to drive. I mean, those are the things that worry me, because that means that politics takes over, and free markets and a free economy and the free enterprise that's always guided our country doesn't work. So I'm bullish about the prospects for energy as long as the government doesn't go south. That's the problem. We don't have an energy problem. We got a government problem.
Yeah, I totally am on your team. I'm wearing your uniform. Let me make a statement and correct me if you will. When I look at this situation with the Trump administration and the economy and the growth thereof as to what he did prior to the 1st of March when the coronavirus escaped, coincidentally, and where we are today with a V upswing in the economy, possibly really peaking and doing a lot better, stability of oil prices, I think, if Joe Biden and or a Democratic nominee takes over in November, I think we're going to be looking at total chaos. What are your thoughts?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we're talking Green New Deal, Zeb. That's one of the things. You can't win the Democratic nomination for president anymore. They have gone hard left. I mean, make no mistake about it. They're talking about forcing people. There's just a story today. There's a new movement to force people to have solar panels on their roof. It doesn't matter what you think or care about or whether you want them or not. I mean, the government's going to force them. And they're going to push for zoning requirements around the country that would force people to put these things up, whether they make sense. Whether they're going to cost you more or less or whatever, and that means putting Chinese devices that plug into our grid on our roofs, and somehow that's supposed to make us more energy secure. It's craziness. To be honest with you,
I cannot understand, Dan, you're closer to this every day, more so than I am. But how, whether it's a rural farm in the San Joaquin Valley of California, whether it's a potato farm here in Idaho or a feedlot back in Nebraska, how do they being the left, how do they force this upon people saying, thou shalt put up solar panels or else? My response, and pardon me for sounding so crass, is the hell with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's our response. But if they gain control of the levers of government, I mean, that's what people forget. I think that when you have these systems that allow people to vote for things, that if enough people vote for them, they can basically take power over things and institute. I mean, frankly, and it sounds kind of crazy, but remember, Hitler was elected, and then he moved to take power. Now, he was elected with a minority vote, but that's the way their system works. So if you know how to work the system, and if you, the same thing with the communist revolution in the Soviet Union, or what became the Soviet Union in Russia. I mean, 17% of the people at the time, 17% of the people of Russia supported the Bolshevik Revolution, and yet they were able to maneuver their way into power and essentially establish a communist dictatorship for 70 years. And so, you know, as much as I like to make light of these things and say this is crazy and everything else, the fact of the matter is history is replete with examples of a small, dedicated minority of people taking the reins of power and then using them against the very people who were looking the other way and paying attention.
How much, and I should have asked you this a few moments ago, but how much of a betterment, for lack of a better term, would it be if all of a sudden our air travel really opened up and people started flying again and the airlines had to buy a lot of jet fuel? Would that help as a stabilizing force to the prices of energy?
Sure. I mean, that would help with both refiners who are basically the manufacturers. I mean, refining is manufacturing of raw product into finished product, and also the producers of the raw product. And it would help because families would be able to see each other. Businesses would be able to conduct business. The economy could unwrap itself from from the chains it's been under ever since this Chinese flu came to our shores. And so, yeah, I mean, anytime you open up the economy more, you're going to have a positive response for everyone concerned. And, you know, with more production, you get more efficiencies as well. That's always the case. And so lifting the chains that a lot of these blue state governors have got on us right now would help the economy greatly. But I smells politics involved in this.
Yeah. What I listen to on the news and what I try to read daily, I try to read as many newspapers as I can get a hold of. I try to watch and follow up on as many news shows as I can, even on networks where I have to hold my nose to listen to them. But, you know, when you listen to the likes of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Biden saying that he would like to appoint her as an energy czar, etc., this woman and others of her ilk are just flat dumb. They have no idea anything more than solar than wind, and they advocate that, not knowing about how agriculture would be in the demise, not knowing about our transportation network, which would absolutely fall through the cracks and there wouldn't be anything. Their platform on the Democratic side can't be that stupid, but they prove me wrong every day. They get dumber and dumber.
Well, and let's be honest, Zeb. I mean, part of the reason they get dumber and dumber is because many of those news outlets are filled with the same sorts of people who don't, you know, they seem that they're always interested in grabbing a hold of the means of production, but they don't understand the means of production.
Right.
And they don't know how, which end of a cow is which. They don't know where lumber comes from. They don't understand where our energy comes from. They think you just plug things in. She doesn't understand the garbage disposal. And yet she has a huge say. And Vice President Biden is placed her in charge of his energy program. So, I sometimes don't know what to say, Zeb. I honestly don't. I'm lost for words. comes to some of this stuff. I never thought I'd see it, but it's where we are right now, and all we can do is be very observant and very active in trying to stop this sort of stuff from happening. I mean, you know, you're up in that neck of the woods where you've got Seattle and Portland. I mean, you got people taking over parts of the towns, and the mayors and governors seeming to not care about it. And, you know, you've got an internal rebellion, in essence, that is coddled by the people that are supposed to keep law and order.
Let me ask you this, and really be honest and forthright back at me. What could I do as a talk show host? What should I be doing to make people more aware? I try every day to have segments that are really important as to what changes the left is trying to do to our society. Tell me, Dan, what more can we do?
Well, Zeb, you know, I'm not worried, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not worried about you and your listeners. I've taken a lot of questions over the years from them and from you, and they clearly have their heads screwed on right. You have to be very conscious of what's happening in your own state, what's happening with your state representatives, making sure that they don't go Washington on you, in essence, because there's a totally different view of the world where I live than there is where your people live and make their homes.
Yeah.
And when they get in, a lot of times when they get into Washington, they lose sight of that. They're surrounded by staff, people that live in this town and exhibit the same sort of beliefs as many of the people, and it shows in their policies. And so I'd say you're doing the Lord's work right now. Keep doing it. There's a lot of people out there. I think there's a lot of this so-called silent majority that's out there that's just shaking their heads right now and saying, this is not what we signed up for.
Amen. Amen. You know, you're just absolutely a pleasure to talk to on this program every Tuesday, and my admiration and respect for you goes higher and higher. Dan Kish, American Energy Alliance, thank you, my friend. Please jump on an airplane sometime, help the jet fuel business, and fly to Idaho, and I'll buy you a steak.
Hey, that sounds like a winner.
Okay. God bless. Take care. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Dan Kish, just a darn good friend of this program, and he knows all about energy, or the lack thereof. Appreciate him. I want to remind you about our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I have gone there many, many times. I'm going to be starting up again with my knees going in there. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, they know and can help you get back to being you. Absolutely. Number to call, make an appointment, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in the entire area here in southern Idaho. I urge you to get a hold of them today. They can and they will help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. That number again, make an appointment. It's very important for you recuperating from a surgery or an accident. They can help. They will help. 678-1191. Oh, my. And don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Oh, good eating. You know, that was so much fun over there last Thursday. We had Zem's Lunch Bunch over there, and they had the tables and chairs set up out in front and everything. Everybody enjoyed the sunshine, the camaraderie, and we hadn't seen each other on behalf of the Lunch Bunch for months, and it was just really a treat. Well, Thomas and Michelle, they hit a home run like they always do. And we urge you to stop in for breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Another location in Twin at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Honestly, what a menu choice for you and your family. I urge you to stop in and enjoy great food, super people serving you at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Absolutely. Well, in just a few minutes, we're going to be visiting with Mr. Dad. So stand by. That's coming up in just a second. Want to remind you, too, about get outside. Get outside. Get on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side and get lost. I mean, get up in the hills on a trail and just have yourself a great time enjoying Idaho's great nature outdoors. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and they've got super hours to serve you Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 2. And like I said, they've got all the side-by-sides. They've got all the four-wheelers. Have you been in that showroom? I don't know how they got it all in there. And all the accessories. And they've got a service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It is so true. This is where the fun is sold. Don't forget, too, over in that neck of the woods or that area of the desert, whichever way you want to look at it, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yep, Todd and the crew, they are just nice people, and they care, and they know, and they are devoted to serving you with the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. What do you need to do? Well, that's easy. You need to just pick up the phone and call the number, make an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really top-notch people. Well, let's go to the phone line right now and talk to Mr. Dad. Hello, Armin Brott. How are you?
Just great. Sounds like you're doing well, too.
I am, and I remember having you on the program the last time and talking about your books and talking about your attitudes. By the way, you're the author of the book called The New Father, A Dad's Guide to the Toddler Years. I should have read your book a long time ago. Give us kind of a roundabout version of what it is and what you're trying to tell people.
Well, trying to continue the process that started with my book, The Expectant Father, and then the first year book, that just giving dads the tools that they need to be the kinds of dads they want to be. And this particular one, I found doing this for a long time that it helps if you break things down. If you just try to come up with a book that says how to be a good dad, it's too broad. So we got to break things down into smaller chunks, and the toddler year seems like a good one because it's coming at a time when the kids are really turning into real people.
Yeah.
They've got personalities, they're doing stuff, they're starting to discover technology, they're starting to discover the things they can and can't do, and dads really need to have some guidance and some reassurance about what to do and how to do it.
You said something a minute ago, Armin. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit on what you just said. Dads wanting to be the dads they want to be. Well, you know, a lot of first-time parents, they have no clue. Dad doesn't know what he wants to be as a dad. Dad doesn't know how to be a dad.
I think that's true. That's part of it. And part of that comes from, I think, the idea that we have in our culture that moms are somehow better naturally at parenting than dads are, and that, it's all right, I'll just leave it up to her to do it, which is an attitude that's not particularly good for the kids, and it's not particularly good for the relationship between the mom and the dad. The only reason why moms are better, so to speak, at these things is because they have more practice. They have more opportunity to do it. A lot of girls grew up babysitting. Very few guys did. But I think if dads start thinking about it, they can really, if they put a few minutes of effort into it, they can really come up with an idea of what kind of dad they want to be. And they could start with their own dad. They can say, my dad did a fantastic job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be just like him. Or my dad did less than a fantastic job, and I'm going to use that as a model for what not to do.
Absolutely.
Or they're going to pick and choose and say, he did some great things. He did some not great things. So just doing that can help a little bit, but also in their own mind. I think when dads have a chance to hang out and play with their kids a little bit, even a little bit, they really get a sense of, I want to do this more. There's something really, really fundamental and and reassuring about it, and it helps them grow as an individual. It helps them learn about themselves. It helps them learn about the world. And very few guys, I think I can say safely, I've never met anybody who says he wish he would have spent less time with his family.
I agree, totally. Armin, I think, though, let's break this down a little bit. I think the status of men and fathers is being diminished every night in primetime TV to where the father is minimized, the father is made fun of, the father is fractionalized as to his worth to the family, and mom seems to be kind of wrinkling her nose and rolling her eyes as to dad not being quite capable of handling anything. Isn't that part of the problem we're seeing in America today?
Yeah, that I wish that it weren't true, but that is the reality, is that there are so many negative messages about fathers and men in general. That's another one of these things, is it has become so commonplace for people to say, oh, men, or anytime there's discussions about Me Too, or Brett Kavanaugh being confirmed to the Supreme Court, or pretty much any other high-profile guy who does something that some people may not like. It's very easy for people to categorize it and say, oh, white men, and it's very frustrating to me to hear that, and to hear about toxic masculinity, which is I hate to use the phrase, but it's a trigger phrase for me. I mean, I hear that and I get really, really angry. That's saying that there is something fundamentally wrong with being a man, fundamentally wrong with being masculine. And we're raising our little boys in a world where they're told that there's something wrong with them for no other reason than just they happen to be boys. And we're raising little girls in the same world, telling them that they need to be suspicious and fearful of all males, all boys, all men. And it's the kind of thing that if you took the word man or father out and replaced it with any other group you want, blacks or Jews or Catholics or whatever, people would say, you're a bigot. That's outrageous. You can't behave. You can't say things like that. But when we talk about men, you can say anything you want, and people will just nod their heads and say, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's sad, and it's disappointing and shocking.
Let's talk a little bit about what the subject matter of the last part of our conversation was, toxic masculinity. There are probably many, many people in the audience listening right now that really don't know a real definition of what is toxic masculinity and why all of a sudden in the last 5-6 years has it become so bad. Why being a man, being masculine is absolutely abhorrent to society. Why? Why is that perceived that way?
I wish I could come up with a definition of toxic masculinity. It's a phrase that means something different to everybody. I think what people mean is that, or some people mean is that some men behave in a way that is inappropriate. And I think we can all agree that there are some men who are aggressive, sometimes too aggressive, and there's some men who behave inappropriately around women, or there's some men who think that they're hot stuff because they make a lot of money. That's entirely possible. Or if you're in New York, there's some men who sit with their legs apart, spread, they call it man spreading, taking up too much room on the subway benches. That's possible, yeah, but I think that if you think about it really and truly, almost everybody can come up with an example of women who behave inappropriately, women who take advantage of men, women who only will go out with rich men, women who will, whatever it is that you hear women sometimes get together and talk about they've all had bad experiences dating with guys, and I talk to men and almost everybody that I've ever talked to has said he's had a bad experience with a woman. And it doesn't mean that all women are bad or that all men are bad. It's stereotyping and it's bigoting to suggest that everybody is the same as one experience that you've had. So yes, we've all had experience with a toxic man or a toxic woman, but that does not make everybody that way. And that's what I try to fight against when I hear that phrase, is to say, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? Well, let's talk about what kinds of experiences have you had, and do you really think it's fair to say that because Harvey Weinstein did the kinds of things that he did, or Jeffrey Epstein, or Bill Cosby, because there are a few people that we can name, Does that mean that all men are that way?
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I think most people will say, that doesn't reflect my experience. I don't know that all men are that way. I know a lot of really good men, and I think the reality is that 90% of guys out there are great, or at least decent.
I would say this, and at the end of my program every day, Armin, I have a slogan that I adhere to that it really refers to what I think we're talking about right now. The way things were are the way things ought to be. Now, that's not a wishing for going back into the archives of history. It's a wishing to go back to where times were more respectful, like kind of the Saturday Evening Post of mom and dad taking the kids to church, mom and dad taking the kids to the park or the fair or whatever. There is a loss, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, of mutual respect for male and females together. That's what I see.
I think that that's generally true. I think it's unlikely we're ever going to go back to the Saturday Evening Post, and I think we all need to look ahead and say that, okay, it was really wonderful the way that it was. But I think what the deeper point that you're making is that there is a lack of respect for anybody who's different and for anybody you might disagree with. And the way that the discussions go now is pretty much anybody who disagrees with you is evil and racist or bigoted or homophobic or whatever it is you want to throw at them. And think back, the way that things were and the way that I would like them to go back to being is where we can sit down and have a civil discussion with somebody we disagree with. And at the end of the discussion, we may not have convinced them, they may not have convinced us, but we recognize that they have their opinions for their reason, and they're not a bad person just because they believe something different. That, I think, is something that was so much a part of the way that I grew up. My family's loud. We argue and have heated discussions all the time. But at the end of it, we all go home and we all kiss each other goodbye, and we're still friends. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that has been lost right now in the current environment. And I'm not putting the blame on anybody in particular, but it's just been lost. And I would like to see us go back to that. This is the way things were, and that's the way that they should be, is where there is respect for other people.
Absolutely.
To be able to have any kind of a discussion.
Well, and it's funny you should end that sentence that way, because this morning, going over the information sheets on the various guests on my program, when I came across your name and the topics about males and all the problems that are in the news today about 95% of those killed by police are male, et cetera, and then I started thinking about Chicago. This last weekend, on Father's Day weekend, there were 100+ shootings and 14 killings on Father's Day. And it made me wonder, where in the world are the fathers? Where are the fathers that are the head of their families and trying to teach the do's and don'ts in society? Where are they?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of them are in jail, or a lot of them are elsewhere, because of the way that our system is set up is that in poor communities, in low-income areas, if you want your family to get benefits from the government, whether it's SNAP for food stamps we used to call it, or any kind of government assistance, the responsible thing to do is for the father to not be in the house. Because if the father is not in the house, that's the only way that the family can collect money. So we've created this bizarre alternate reality where responsibility is not being there. And that's the problem. And so what happens is dads are not in the families. There's so many kids in the black community especially that are being raised. I think it's about 75% are being raised by single mothers for the most part. And the problem with that is that these kids do not have a male role model in their life that they can look at and say, this is what it means to be a man. So instead, they find a charismatic guy on the street who's probably more often than not a drug dealer or a gang member who says, yeah, you want to be a man? You get out there and you beat somebody up or you shoot them. That's what you do. That's how you be a man. And these kids are growing up in this crazy world where they don't understand that masculinity does not mean that. That's not it. that masculinity means holding your kids. It means kissing your kids and reading them bedtime stories and showing them how to behave with other people, whether it's women or men or people that you work with or waitresses at a restaurant. You learn by observing people, and if you don't have a father role model in your life, you're going to find other ways of doing it. And it plays out with girls as well, is girls who don't have a father in their life to show them what to expect, to be a role model of how to behave, they're much more likely to become teen mothers because they're looking, as the song goes, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Where do we start? And I'm almost out of time, but Armin, where do we start with the building blocks to put this thing back on the rails the way it should be? I mean, where's the starting point? What do we do? What do we have to do as a society? We can't continue down this trail of almost anarchy within the family situation. What do we do?
Well, I think we start looking at fathers, we start pointing out examples of good fatherhood, and we point that out to our kids so that they know it when they see it. We start thinking of ourselves as fathers, men who are men, of course, and think about what you're doing and how you're behaving and the model you're setting. If you're a woman, you do whatever you can, whether you're married to the father, living with the father, or you're divorced or separated or never married. Understand that your kids need that man in their life, and you need to support that, whether you like the guy or not. Support it. Encourage the kids to spend more time with the dad, and the dad to spend more time with the kids. And then make an effort to have civil discussions with people you disagree with, and don't write everybody off as evil or bad or horrible just because they don't think what you do.
Absolutely. Armin, you're always welcome here. We'll take one quick call. Caller, you just made it under the wire. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air. I think they hung up. Well, I guess they weren't saved by the dial tone. Armin Brott, author of the book called The New Father, A Dad's Guide to the Toddler Years. He's known as Mr. Dad. You are always welcome on this program. Thank you. God bless, and come back soon. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Thank you. Very interesting discussion with Armin Brott. Caller, I'll take your call quickly. Go ahead, please.
Yes, it's just me again, Zeb. What can be done about foreign governments who are financing all this anarchy that's going on in this country? Because there are too many people here who don't know what to do unless they're prompted by foreign governments paying their bills.
Wow. I mean, that's a question that is answer could fill up a baseball stadium as far as what to do, what not to do, getting back on track of where we should be. In simplistic tones, I would say that we've got to adhere to the Constitution. We've got to adhere to the respect of our flag as being citizens of the greatest country on the face of the earth. I am not a globalist. I don't believe in globalism. I believe in being a nationalist to where our country comes first, and we think about and protect our citizens first and our way of life first. If that sounds like I'm some kind of a negative redneck, so be it, because I do not believe in helping everybody else around the world and ignoring our citizenry here. That's my feeling.
Absolutely. And another one thing that's bothering me a little bit is the White House going to be breached now with all that stuff?
It had better not be.
Where they're at?
It had better not be, and quite frankly, I think it's time for some bloody noses. I'm fed up with this. Tony, I appreciate it. God bless you for your call. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. Time for the weather. And the weather is brought to you this hour by our friends, the professionals. That's right, they are the professionals, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Who am I talking about? Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I know these folks. I know how good they are at their job. Whether it's tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning, they know. They're the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Warmer temperatures for the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather forecast for today. We are expecting sunny skies with a high of 88. Not much of a breeze to speak of. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 93. Slight chance of rain showers and thunder bumpers for Wednesday nights. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 62. That chance of rain showers and thunderstorms is going to stick around for Thursday as well. Mostly sunny skies, high of 84. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's what your weather forecast for Zeb at 3.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. And brought to you by the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And the best of accounting services to you. Locations at 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to mention to you about our friends at Patterson's Electronics. Don't forget to get in and check out the HD TVs. Oh, they've got super low prices ready for you on a 43-inch 4K HD TV, 2-year warranty, just $299.99. 55-inch big boy 4K HD TV, 2-year warranty, $439.99. You better check it out today. Really great folks. Don't forget they've got that charity where they're going to have all their customers, and when they make a purchase, a percentage of the proceeds goes into the charity fund, and the top 2 charities are going to receive $500 from Patterson's Electronics. 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena, great folks. You stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome. The phone lines are open. Give me a jingle. And coming up later this morning, I might just mention this quickly before I take another call, and then I have to do another commercial, that at 10:06 this morning, Dr. History, and then at 10:30 this morning, again, another one of my all-time favorite guests, one of the best economists in the United States, Dr. Michael Bustler at 10:30. Don't miss that. The 4th of July celebration over in Rupert is going to involve a lot of people, involve a lot of fun, and involve you. And Haskin Insurance Service at 629 Fremont Street in Rupert welcomes you over to the 4th of July festivities in Rupert, and they want to thank all their customers for their business over the past 20 years. They say give them a call every time you're in the market for any of the Haskin Insurance Services. They are there to serve you. Haskins Insurance in Rupert. Dixon Oil, 602 South 2nd in Rupert. This is a family that absolutely, every time there's an event to help promote the community, they are there to serve you. Dixon Oil has been in business since 1951, and they wish you and your family the best 4th of July ever. A caller, I'll be right with you. I also want to remember about Haruza Insurance at 723 South 3rd Street in Rupert. Yes, David Haruza and the rest of the crew, they say, don't forget us. We'll protect what matters most to you with Haruza Insurance. Get a hold of them today, 436-4420. And Snyder Surplus Incorporated, 116 South, 200 West of Rupert. I'm telling you what, every day is a treasure hunt, and that's the truth over at Snyder Surplus. They've got it all. If I were to make a list, I'd not have enough time in 3 hours to tell you all about it. Stop in and see these great folks today at Snyder Surplus, Rupert, Idaho, 436-8000. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb.
Yes.
Disagreement is all right, and I just wanted you to know I didn't mean to upset you, but, I have my opinions, and so do you, but you see, that's the thing. I'm not offended by disagreement, but there's so many in our world that are. And that, that's the thing, see? They take offense, they're victims, they're weak. Those are the kinds of things that never won the West and never made America great.
In no way, shape, or form. did you offend me? Don't even think that way. Don't even go down that trail with 3 shoes on the horse and 1 missing, because that ain't going to cut the cake. You didn't offend me at all. I enjoyed the spirited debate. That's what makes this show. I'm not going to back up. I don't expect you to back up, but maybe we'll find some room in the middle we can agree upon. But no, you did not upset me at all.
Well, see, this is the thing, I have a big family, and I have sons and daughters, and if they were all cowering in the corner, I would be ashamed of me as a father. You see, what they do is they call me out if I was wrong. They have their opinions, and I expect them to stand up and be counted and be strong, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And so, you see, this is the thing. Whether or not we gather in groups and tear hell out of our country, alone, these Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they couldn't accomplish anything by themselves because they haven't accomplished anything in their lives that's constructive.
Well, let me ask you, I need to ask you a question that Randy, hold on a second. Randy.
Everything apart.
Randy, wait a minute.
Somebody else built.
Let me ask you a question right there, because you made a point that I want you to get into before I run out of time. How in the world can an organizational group like Black Lives Matter have any respect and following, especially in a very conservative area like right here, when they are a Marxist communist group that absolutely is bent on destroying our Constitution and our way of life? You got to explain that to me real quick, real fast.
I have no idea. But you see, whether or not it's the Times News or the media, supporting and perpetuating this thing like they think they're cool. They think they're politically correct, and so, you can't be patriotic and know that God is your Savior or Christ is your Savior. Those are outmoded things. You have to go along with the politically insightful crowd, which they don't know nothing, they've never done nothing, and they're not going to do nothing. All they can do is raise hell and tear things up, and then when they get all tired, they'll go, I guess, back to their mommy and daddy's basement and take a nap.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I am absolutely appalled as to the story I had earlier this morning about Shaun King, a spokesman for the Black Lives Matter, saying that now they want to talk about going into the churches and tearing down statues of Jesus. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it hits home. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to fight back. Randy, I've got to run. I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks. You bet. Bye.
All right. We've got to run and turn it over to CBS News for a little bit. And after they mess everything up, we'll come back and try to straighten it out again. And 10:06, Dr. History. I can hear him in the other room. He's here. And then, of course, at 10:30, Dr. Michael Bustler. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Here we go. Here we go. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3. And brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. A beautiful place. What more can I say? 12-bedroom home for seniors. Oh, my goodness, part of a family unit. 3 meals a day, housekeeping, snacks, local transportation, all of this and so much more. And besides, Kelly makes that delicious peach cobbler. Oh, it's good. You better get on in there and check it out. Call for an appointment to see this wonderful senior place to enjoy your friends and just live life in a fun atmosphere. That's, of course, Greystone Crossing. Call 654, nope, wrong, back up, erase that, 650-4979. Did you make the correction? I did. 650-4979. Greystone Crossing Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. And just to check to make sure I got the number right, 650-4979. You give them a call today. Want to also urge you about saving for your financial future and security through silver purchases, absolutely with 7K Metals. Wow, I am so glad that I was introduced to this company, and I'm so glad that we started our own saving opportunity for us, and then also it's going to be a valued treasure for our loved ones in the future. I urge you to contact Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259 and find out more about investing in financial security through silver purchases. Absolutely with 7K Metals. You be sure and call Lon and Sharon today. Well, it's Tuesday. And a lot of you folks know already where I'm headed. We have the one, the only Dr. History in the studio. And good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. Beautiful day out there today.
You know, you just, when Idaho is beautiful, it's beautiful.
The crops, the spuds, the hay, the grain, all.
I know it.
Looking
And did you
great.
notice how this grain is turning?
Oh, wow. Yeah, already.
Yeah, look at that field right out here.
Yeah.
Man, alive.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Hey, by the way, a little bit of knowledge. Lance Durrell, the author of the book about Custer's Battle, had invited you and I to the battlefield this summer, this month, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And due to extenuating circumstances and everything, all of us have kind of pulled our hats off the rack and said maybe next year.
Maybe next year. I was really looking forward to that.
I was too.
Yeah. So I want to say hi to a few people.
Good. Go ahead.
Real quick. James, back in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Heard from him. Joshua, back in Wisconsin.
What part?
I'm not sure, but he's cutting his second crop of hay.
Okay.
Getting ready to haul that in. Charles in Tennessee actually played 3 years of college football, and he works on a farm. And Dennis over in Oregon has made some suggestions, so I appreciate
And they all listen to us.
They do. It's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what, to all of you out there, whether you're cutting hay, baling hay, or whatever, God bless you.
Yes, very much. So today, Zeb, we're going to go to a place that's within an hour drive for you and me.
Where's that?
Massacre Rocks.
Yes.
Yes.
And, you know, I have driven through there 1,000 times, and I just want to say this before you start. I've often wondered what it was like that day at Massacre Rocks up by American Falls.
And every time I travel through there, I picture the Indians on one side, the wagon trains.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about. But so, folks, go to your Google and type in Massacre Rocks. It's right along south central Idaho, right along the Snake River on the south side.
Absolutely.
But it was also called Gate of Death or Devil's Gate, and I didn't realize that. But immigrants gave this name to this narrow passage of the trail through the rocks because of the fear of ambush by the Indians. So during the mid-1800s, the Raft River Valley was full of pioneers as they traveled on their way to Oregon and California. By 1862, the Oregon Trail and California trails crossing through Raft River were well-traveled, lots and lots of pioneers. And many wagon companies were just a few miles apart from each other just prior to their arrival in Raft River. The pioneers traveled through a valley where the volcanic rock was as plentiful as was sagebrush. The Snake River bordered that section of the trail, and the travelers often took advantage of the cool waters to relax and fish. The pioneers usually traveled safely, and Indian attacks were the exception rather than the rule. And most pioneers actually died from disease or accident, and found themselves sometimes in the middle of a skirmish. But one little humorous thing that happened there. So as you travel on the Oregon Trail, as you get out towards Raft River, the California Trail cuts off to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There's a family that couldn't decide whether to go to California or Oregon. So just before they got to the split, they decided to let the oxen choose. So they turned the oxen loose, and they turned left, and they went to California.
You're kidding me. I wanted to ask you about that. For those that have traveled, and I'm sure there's many people listening, whether they live in Wisconsin or Tennessee or whatever, that have been on that stretch of the interstate right there by Massacre Rocks, going to American Falls or coming out of it. How much did the freeway system take away from what was natural in the rocks as far as that little pass?
I've wondered that. I've wondered how much was taken out to build the freeway.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think not much.
Because where the road is, I've been told, where the freeway is exactly where the notch was.
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so.
Okay.
So the year's 1862 was one of the worst for Indian attacks in southern Idaho. During the first week period in August, a series of massacres occurred over 100 miles of trail. So not just at Massacre Rocks. Okay.
Yeah.
And for the severity and the consistency was unequaled. The gold rush to California in 1849 had started a migration of immigrants that was just kept growing and growing more and more. And of course, watching the caravans of wagons rumbling over the old trails, the Indians became restless, and during the early 1860s, they started a campaign of attacks that kept the cavalry constantly on the move.
These were the Shoshombanics?
Yeah. Yep. And there might have been some other tribes, too, involved. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it was that incredible second week in August in 1862, that's what we're going to talk about, that is kind of stamped indelibly in the pages of Idaho history. Now, one of these skirmishes, an Indian attack on an immigrant train moving west over the Oregon Trail, gave the name Massacre Rocks to this formation along the river. That's where it started. So it was reported that south of the Massacre Rocks on August 3rd, a wagon train of 40 people had been ambushed. Now, it was referred to later as the Methodist train because of the number of religious people of that faith.
Now, you
its
said
members.
south of the Massacre Rocks.
Yeah.
So would that be back up towards, oh boy, help me on the geography, that little town, I can't think of what that town is back
not
in
American
there.
Falls.
No, to the south. Rockland, yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But anyway, they say south of. But anyway, it was thought that about 15 women and children had been carried off by the Indians, and all the rest of the party were killed, except one man who miraculously escaped, and the story goes that he may have swum across the river to escape.
Really?
Yeah. So on August 6th, 3 days later, the Indians struck again near the same place. This time it was a group of packers from the Willamette Valley. One was killed, and the others managed to escape with their lives, but nothing else. Now, 3 days later, on August 9th, a train from Iowa with a bunch of wagons, not sure how many, was also ambushed by the Indians at the mouth of the City of Rocks. So we've got quite a stretch of land there. So again, folks, Google City of Rocks, Massacre Rocks, and then you'll kind of see the geography of what we're talking about.
Wouldn't they be better off if they're Googling everything to start up by Pocatello as a focal point?
Actually, yes.
They'd be better off.
Yeah, and look at the Oregon Trail where it went. So, like I say, they were at the City of Rocks, close to it, and due to their number and the firepower, this caravan, after corralling their wagons, managed to repulse the first attack that hit them around noon. The Indians, after failing on this first encounter, they contented themselves on a second try in rounding up a herd of 50 cattle that had been left outside the barricade. And after a day and night of attacks, the Indians retired to the cover of some rocks for a council of war. And now the whites reversed the tables, and with a large, well-armed contingent, they left the barricade and surprised the Indians at their council meeting.
Really?
It was successful. They were taken completely by surprise, and they had to mount their ponies and take off. So very few immigrants were killed in that episode, and they did lose some of their stock, though.
Well, now, let me ask you, right up the road, I say nowadays, right up the road at Pocatello or Fort Hall.
Right.
Now, was Fort Hall in existence in 1862?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, so
there were members of the cavalry there and the army right there.
And these people that came through probably came through Fort Hall.
Okay.
So,
but, when you think about settlers, in the books I've read, you know more about this than I would. As far as having a lot of ammunition and a lot of firepower, they didn't have that much.
No, they didn't plan on that. So, but, the day before on August 8th, 2 Indian attacks happened almost at the same time in different parts. The Smith train entered the west approach of the City of Rocks. They heard the howls and the yelling of the Indians as they approached, and without previous warning from behind the limestone formations, all 11 wagons, along with 16 horses, were taken as the Indians completely outnumbered this unfortunate group. So the report here is...
And all the people were killed?
It doesn't exactly say that, but we don't know. For sure, there's some incomplete things. We just don't know everything about what happened there. But because the report is a little bit indefinite. One newspaper account says that there were some survivors, although it doesn't say how they escaped or how many were there. The article mentions, quote, the immigrants were saved by a party near their settlement to the south. So there were some settlers around that came to
I was going to ask you that. I mean, sure, they were survivors, but where did they go? How did they exist? What did they do?
There were some settlers already through that area, through the Alamo area, the Raft River area. There were a few scattered ranchers. But, the next incident that happened at approximately the same time east of Fort Hall. Okay, that's way back.
Yeah,
east of Fort Hall. That reveals that self-preservation is kind of a basic in man's nature. This was the Yates train, 15 wagons, 40 men, and a number of women. Now, this caravan was assaulted in a ravine in a thick growth of poplar trees. The wagons, unfortunately, were far apart when the Indians attacked. The 10 front wagons formed a corral, and they kind of forsook the remaining 5, and 3 of these besieged wagons managed to break through and join the main group, but the remaining 2 wagons were left to their fate to the Indians.
Now, were most of those wagons, this might sound like an obscure question, but were most of the wagons led by oxen or horses?
We don't know. We do know that mostly it was oxen and mules.
Because that's really a slow kind of a retreat or circular to get out of the line of fire.
Yeah, so this 15 wagons, 10 of them made the circle, 3 of them made it in there, the other 2 didn't make it.
Wow.
And so anyway, it says that 3 men attempted to come to the aid of these immigrants, but after the first volley of the Indian fire, returned quickly to the main corral.
So the Indians were using rifles too?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So the records show that the next day the main group did manage to fight its way out with a run for safety. Reports show that in all 7 were killed and 2 wounded. Now, again, near Massacre Rocks along the Snake River, we're back to that area, on August 9th, the original train that was attacked was known as the George W. Adams Party. However, before it was over, it was to be joined by several other wagon trains arriving on the scene while the battle was going on.
So basically, to use the term, this was kind of a freeway way back then.
Right. And so there were maybe only a few miles between some of the wagon trains.
So they heard the fracas.
And they joined up, yeah. So this indicates that, again, there was a lot of traffic that went over the Oregon Trail. There's an account by a guy named Swaisley, one of the party, and he kind of gives a graphic description of how the wagon train was hit while about 10 miles this side of American Falls. When the onslaught first occurred, the wagons were again widely separated, and it was difficult for the wagon master, Adams, to get them to form into a corral. And seeing they were greatly outnumbered by the Indians, the immigrants did a strange thing. Somehow they managed to leave their wagons and escape to what they hoped would be safety. And in this maneuver, 3 men and 1 woman were killed and a number wounded. The author says that by evening during the battle, several other wagon trains came upon the scene. So it was quite a menagerie of wagons that kept coming in and in.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that well used.
Yeah. So the amazing report states that during the remainder of the night and in the morning of August 10th, wagons came in to such an extent that a corral of 86 wagons was formed. And this, however, still had to stay off the repeated attacks of over 300 well-armed Indians. So the battle continued, and during this strange outdoor drama, more wagon trains arrived, stopped at this place by the Indians, and according to the eyewitnesses, he says, quote, "We now had a company of 112 wagons, and the several trains joined for the purpose of mutual defense." 112, Zeb. That's hard to even fathom.
The area that it would have taken to circle all those wagons, that's pretty big. Where was the area of defense up there so I can geographically put it in my mind?
I wish I knew exactly.
And I would assume it would be down on this side of the formation,
west,
where the flats kind of go out to where the boat docks are now.
Right, west of the actual Massacre Rocks, yeah. But anyway, the writer says the battle raged for 3 days due to the increased number of whites arriving, and the Indians on the third day, one of their chiefs might have been killed or something, but they withdrew, and the amount of stock and everything that was lost, 90 head of cattle, they figured they got $17,500 in cash from looting the wagons.
The Indians did?
Yeah.
What was their need for cash?
I think they could use it. I think they could go to trading posts at various places.
Really?
Yeah. But I do have here some actual... from a journal of a gal by the name of Jane Gould. She was a member of the Wilson train, traveling with her family, and here's what she said in her journal. We traveled till about 4 or 5 in the afternoon when we, from the back end of the wagon train, saw those on ahead all get out of their wagons. In a short time, the word came back that a train 6 miles on ahead had been attacked by the Indians and some were killed. And she continues, she says, she wrote of 10 wagons being plundered and of Charles Bullwinkle being killed while protecting his possessions. He was shot 8 times. His dog was shot 4 times before they would let them go to the wagon. And she continues, she says, the attackers grabbed everything they could carry. They took all they had in the wagon except for his trunks and books and papers. It was supposed they took $6,000 from him and tore the cover from his wagon. Later, the Indian chief taunted the pioneers by wearing some of Bullwinkle's clothes. He appeared in a suit of Bullwinkle's, and she said Captain Adams' son was killed while pursuing the Indians, and his daughter was left mortally wounded during the attack. She died 3 days later and was buried in Raft River. Captain Adams' daughter died from the effects of her wound. She was buried in a box made out of a wagon box. Adams lost 1 son and 1 daughter, all of his teams, and most of his $4,000. He was left dependent on the bounty of strangers. So, Zeb, I've been doing this for a long time. And there are some people out there that say, supposedly there was only 1 person killed in that Massacre Rocks, or 2 people, or this or that. And some of them kind of joke that Massacre Rocks really wasn't all that big of a deal. But if you read, from, as I said, the east side of Fort Hall, clear over to City of Rocks, that's about 100 miles.
Yeah, I was going to say it almost resembles kind of a war zone, if you will, that they had to travel through. Now, why, I guess one of the obvious questions I have, why wasn't there kind of a security force from Fort Hall provided to these settlers?
This all took place within about a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a week to 10 days. So I think, as the wagon trains came across, the Indians saw more and more and more, and the bad thing is I know that there are some settlers that as they came across, they would see Indians and they just take a shot at them, just for no reason. Just take, and this did not sit well with the Indians, obviously.
Yeah.
So to say they were justified in attacking the wagon trains, well, who knows? But like I say, there's about 100-mile stretch there that within about a week, they refer to this as Horror Week at Massacre Rocks.
Then what happened?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe the cavalry came into play.
Was there a curtailment by the tribes to basically pull back?
I think this is about when Colonel Connor started taking action in that area.
I see.
And Colonel Patrick Connor.
But from Fort Hall down to the pass there at American Falls, Massacre Rocks, if a detachment of soldiers had left, let's say at 7 o'clock in the morning, and at a good steady trot aimed southward westward towards the Massacre Rocks, easily they could have been there probably in a day and a half hard ride.
I'm saying even sooner. I would think. So, but then again, did they know at Fort Hall what was happening?
Well, that's what this question was, as far as weren't there some perhaps gallopers that left the wagon trains and went back to seek help from the army, or what?
Yeah, that's a question we'll never know.
How big a post was that?
Fort Hall was of course, it really was a trading post for the mountain men.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few mountain men that would come down to spend the winter there at Fort Hall. So as far as the actual cavalry, I know that I can't remember the name of the colonel that was in charge of that Fort Hall, but there was a contingent of the cavalry there.
Let's take a quick call. I've got exactly a minute left. Caller, real fast. You're on the air.
Okay. My first encounter with Massacre Rocks was in 1946. And it was really interesting. That was called Highway 30 then. And that was a pretty narrow passageway. And the eastbound side of the freeway is where they removed all the rocks. The west side of the freeway was pretty well preserved.
Uh-huh.
And then up the road just a little bit was called Coldwater Camp. And incidentally, there was a store there at Massacre Rocks at one time.
Yeah.
And you stop there to get a pop or whatever. And Coldwater Camp was the same. And just a little way east or west of there is where a lot of the pioneers crossed the Snake River.
Absolutely. Keith, thank you very much. I'm out of time, and I appreciate that. Dr. History, I think this is worth another look, another story at another date on this program. There's a lot of interesting things happened up in that area.
And what Keith was talking about, in the 1920s, that's when a businessman set up a shop, and I think even a small gas station, small gas station, and even a little motel.
Yeah.
And that's when he called it, referred to it as Massacre.
Real quick, when you drive through there, even today, and I've been through there, I'll bet you, without exaggerating, 1,000 times. Yeah. At least 1,000 times. You still get kind of an eerie feeling.
I look up at those hills.
Yes.
Oh, and I can just see all those Indians lined up.
That's exactly the feeling I've got, too. Dr. History, thank you.
You bet.
Excellent job. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. Hey, by the way, real quick, before we have to send it back to the studio, don't forget Rupert's 4th of July celebration. Oh, it's going to be rocking in the USA. That's the theme this year. And the Grand Marshals, Charlie and Lori Creason. Don't forget, all the way from Monday, June 29th through Saturday, July 4th, all kinds of fun and patriotism for our beloved Independence Day, Rupert's 4th of July celebration. Don't miss it. They're going to have mutton busting, patriotic programs, great music, the Firecracker 500 lawnmower race, and, of course, the world's best 4th of July parade on the 4th of July at 11 a.m. All of this at Rupert's 4th of July celebration for 2020. Don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to go back to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh my, if you're looking to beautify and comfortize your home, think no further than Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. What a staff of real knowledgeable people. Jeff and the crew, they can help you with all the recliners and all the mattresses. Oh my goodness. And of course, all the other furniture, sofas and love seats, dining and living room sets. It's all there. It's all there for you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. We told you to get in there before Father's Day and take Dad in. Well, a lot of you tried. Maybe you were busy. You didn't get it done. Please stop in with Dad and pick out a recliner that just fits him. Stop in and see the wonderful folks that can really help you with all the floor covering and the carpet at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people serving you. Want to remind you, too, real quick before I run out of time, Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair is for sale. The entirety of the business is for you. 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Don't forget, call the number, find out more from Doug, 878-4991. Turnkey business operation, lock, stock, and barrel, everything. The shop, beautiful shop, and all the equipment right there at Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair. And he'll train the buyer of the business. Better call 878-4991. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Ladies and gentlemen, this man I'm going to introduce has been on my program many, many times in the past, and he will continue to be asked to come on this program because he tells it like it is. He is a public policy analyst, economics expert, and a professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey, and I absolutely trust everything he says. Dr. Michael Busler, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning to you, Zeb. Thanks for having me. As you know, it's always my pleasure to be here.
You know, Dr. Busler, I just am really worried this morning. I'm worried that there's going to be some other strings pulled on the puppets by the Democrats and the left. I'm worried that now our economy is showing a possible V-shaped recovery with the Trump administration. I'm worried the Democrats are going to see this as a fearful sign prior to the election, and they're going to do all they can to dispute the numbers and dispute the economy and create more havoc. Am I wrong?
No, and I share your concern too. It oftentimes seems like the Democrats put their hatred for President Trump above the love of the country. So their latest is that they're publicizing the increase in the number of coronavirus cases, and there has been an increase in the last 5, 6, 7 days. And they keep publicizing that and saying that, well, we're going to have to take some action, maybe shut some things down again. I don't think that, and now I'm not a medical expert, so let me say that right off the bat, but I don't think the increase in the number of cases is really going to do much to slow the economic activity, unless the governor shut the economies down. But if they don't do that, I don't think it will slow down the recovery. Now, why do I say that? While there has been an increase in the number of cases, there's a decrease in the number of hospitalizations and the number of people dying. Now, that could indicate one of two things, the medical professionals tell me. One is that the virus may be running its course, and as you're getting to the end of the pandemic, the virus tends to weaken. And if it is weakening, that could be why we're seeing an increase in the number of cases, yet the hospitalizations and the fatalities are going down. Now, the media is not publicizing that portion of it, but I think because of that, people will be a little less worried about the virus spreading again. The second thing is part of the reason that the numbers of people testing positive is increasing is because we're testing so many more people. Many people have this virus and are asymptomatic. They don't show any symptoms, so they wouldn't know that they really had the virus unless you got tested. And when you get tested, of course, if you do have it, you'll know. And the third thing is most of the new cases seem to be in areas that are opening up, and you get a lot of younger people tending to congregate. They're not practicing the social distancing. They may not have masks on. But the young people tend to be able to withstand this virus much better than people over 65 or people with some prior conditions. So with all that and the number of cases increasing, I don't think it's going to put much of a damper on the economy. And I still agree with you that we're in for a V-shaped recovery. And some of the data, particularly the jobs numbers in March and the retail sales in, not March, in May rather, and the retail sales in May both indicate that things are turning around quickly. And even though the number of cases is going up, I still believe the economy will rebound quickly and go into that V-shaped recovery.
Dr. Busler, let me ask you this question, and I don't even have a tenth of your knowledge on economic situations, but let me ask you this. With us being supposedly the United States, the world leader, and everybody looks up to us. And, of course, the value of the dollar portrays kind of a solidifying effect at global markets around the world. What about the shape of our dollar right now? And what about the shapes of other economies that are also suffering with the coronavirus?
Well, the other countries, and some of them have seen some spikes here. We'll have to see how it plays out in those countries. They don't have the resources to handle these things the way the U.S. does. So that could tend to slow down the world economy, and most economists are forecasting that kind of thing will continue. The other thing with the dollar is still very strong, as you noted. Now, the fact that we're going so much in debt, even if we don't pass any additional spending, which I hope we don't pass anymore, but the deficit this year will probably be about $4 trillion. I mean, that's a huge deficit. The worst we ever had before was $1.4 trillion. And we were nervous when the numbers got that high. So the deficit is very large. The second thing is the Federal Reserve is buying a lot of government bonds, pumping a lot of cash, a lot of money into the financial system. As you know, they've already brought interest rates down close to zero. That could have a very negative impact on the dollar. The overall conclusion, then, is there's so many variables here. It's kind of difficult to determine what will happen exactly with the dollar. But I would say the first goal should be, and I agree with President Trump on this, the first goal should be to get the economy as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. Economic growth, remember, more economic growth provides more opportunity. And you take a look at a lot of the social problems that we're having today, much of them center on the fact that many people just don't have economic opportunity. And that leads to frustration. It leads to dependency on the government. I think a lot of this protesting, there's other reasons for it, but a lot of it has to do with the lack of opportunity. Economic growth will bring opportunity for every well-prepared American. Remember, we haven't seen 4% annual growth in nearly 2 decades. I think we were on track this year before the virus to get pretty close to that, but we haven't seen it. If what President Trump is doing to encourage economic growth, if we can get that growth number up to 4%, a lot of other problems will end up being resolved. That's true economic prosperity. When you get growth up over 4%, we have prosperity, and the prosperity will tend to reduce many of these social problems.
Well, there's always the guy in the audience like me that's going to say, yeah, but. And the yeah, but here is, in my opinion, that if Trump does not get reelected and we put a Democrat like Joe Biden in there, and then the frivolously stupid people underneath him, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with the green energy program, which wants to be implemented at a cost of trillions and trillions of dollars to the American taxpayer, and others of the Democratic ilk that want single-payer insurance put in for trillions and trillions of dollars, we're at a dead-end street with just accumulating figures of more debt. I don't see how we can survive.
I share your concerns, Zeb. I'm very nervous if President Trump does not win. Joe Biden has already said he's going to raise the corporate tax rate, which Trump lowered down to 21%, and that's helping to fuel some more growth and more opportunity. He wants to raise that up to 28%. He wants the government in some form to take over the health care system. There's even some talk about the government taking over the higher education system. Once you start doing that and you remove individual responsibility and replace it with social responsibility, which is what Biden wants to do, that will tend to stagnate the economy, reduce growth, and reduce opportunities for people. And very simply, why is that? In order to implement all of those programs, you have to raise enough tax revenue to pay for them. Well, Biden says, look, I can raise taxes on the wealthy and on corporations. First off, there's not enough wealthy people to cover everything he wants to do, but by taxing the wealthy, you reduce capital formation. So in other words, if the wealthy get their taxes raised, they're still going to spend as much as they have been on their lifestyle, but it reduces the amount of savings and reduces capital formation. When that happens, the economy tends to stagnate. The other thing is, if you're raising taxes on people, it reduces their incentive to go out and do more, so that tends to slow growth. And if you start giving people free stuff, like free health care and free education, it reduces their incentive to go out and earn enough money to pay for it themselves. So it ends up stagnating the economy, and I share your deep concern that if President Trump does not win, we could be in for a long-term period of economic stagnation.
There's another aspect of this, and again, I don't have the knowledge like you do on this, but just a layman's kind of concern that we have got to re-implement in this country the value of a work ethic, of wanting to go out and achieve and use your talents and be all you can be, and that stimulates the economy. It helps everything. When you progress and make money, everybody else is going to make money because of the money you spend. It's a domino theory. But without a good work ethic, and we've got so many people on welfare, how are we going to transition these people to go back to work and have some pride in themselves?
Zeb, I couldn't agree with you more. That work ethic is really what made America great. Remember, the U.S. went from the birth of a nation to the number one most prosperous economy in the world in about 150 years. Other countries were hundreds, in some cases thousands of years older. We were able to do that for just the reason you said, that Americans had that work ethic. They wanted to go out and achieve, and we had set up an environment where they could do that. We encouraged individual freedom. We encouraged individual responsibility. We had low rates of taxation, and we had a limited role for government. Those principles encourage people to feel that work ethic because you knew you were free as long as you didn't infringe on anybody else's basic rights. You could basically do whatever you wanted to do. You had responsibility for yourself. You had low rates of taxation. So when you earned something, you got to keep most of it. And the government got out of your way. I mean, they provided certain public goods like defense of the country, a legal system, etc. But beyond that, the federal government sort of got out of people's way. That set up the environment that encouraged people to work and produce and feel good about what they're doing and bring that work ethic back. We have to do that. President Trump, I think, is trying to do that. All of the policies of the Democratic Party are exactly opposite to that.
You know, really, when you're asked in your classes or somebody visits with you at a coffee shop, whatever, and they start discussing, well, what is the Democrats' plan? What's their platform? What is their economic base to talk about? You know something, Dr. Bussler? I honestly can't tell anybody on my program what their platform on the economy is, because all they're doing is just condemning Trump for his success with the economy, and his their condemnation of Donald Trump does not at all equate with what they're going to do or try to do. So how do we know what they're going to do?
Well, you know, that's pretty much right. Instead of campaigning on things that are positive, here's what we're going to do to make things better.
Right.
All they do is campaign on things that are negative, not Trump. Anything that Trump wants to do is wrong, and because Trump's wrong, you shouldn't vote for him, and if you're not going to vote for him, then vote for us. So they use a negative campaigning rather than coming out with some positive things that would move the country forward. Essentially, most of their economic policies center on helping the bottom 15% of income earners. We're going to raise your minimum wage. We're going to give you free health care. We're going to make sure that you can't afford to go to college, we're going to pay for that for you. If you get unemployed, we'll increase unemployment compensation. If you need extra money, we'll increase programs like food stamps and welfare. So their programs are all, we're going to give you free stuff. President Trump is trying to say, we're going to give you the opportunity to earn enough income to buy your own stuff so you don't have to rely on the government to do that for you.
Are you, as an economist and also a professor, when you stand up in front of the classroom, are you seeing and hearing from the students that are saying, yeah, we see it your way, or are they bent on the liberal left socialist way? What's particularly happening in your classroom?
That's a very good question, Zeb. So, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but the vast majority, maybe as high as 90% on my campus, it might be as high as 95% of the professors are very liberal and unfortunately only give the students one side. So when I come into class, they pretty much have heard the liberal view and not the other view. So what I do is I say, look, I'm not going to necessarily tell you how I think, but what I want to do is give you the argument from both sides. And what you're supposed to learn in college is critical thinking skills. I mean, you learn certain specifics about things, but the main thing is critical thinking skills, how to figure things out. So what I want to do is I'm going to give you both sides of the argument. I know what you've already heard, and I'll give you the other side. Then you decide what makes the most sense. For instance, I say to them, look, do you think we should raise the minimum wage? Well, 90% of the class say, yeah, we should raise the minimum wage. How could somebody get by on only $10 an hour? They need at least $15. It's a good thing to do. It'll bring people out of poverty. We should raise the minimum wage. And that's what their professors have been telling them. Then I say, well, here's the other side of the argument. If you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, you know, you take a look at a 40-hour work week for a year, and that's $33,000 an employer has to pay for somebody who's completely unskilled. A minimum wage worker, I'm not judging anybody, I'm just looking at the facts. A minimum wage worker is somebody who's completely unskilled. Now, if you tell an employer you have to pay $35,000 for a completely unskilled worker, he's not going to hire very many workers.
Mm-hmm.
So what it does is it creates unemployment and a lack of opportunity for people who really need to just get in there and start working and learn how to do something. So when I give them both sides of the argument, I see them sitting in the back and sort of scratching their head a little bit, saying, you know, I never looked at it that way, and maybe I should. So I think the professors are doing a great injustice to students by not providing both sides of an argument, keep their view out of it, provide both sides of the argument, and let the students figure out what they think makes the most sense.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, you are the best. Dr. Michael Busler, public policy analyst, economic expert, and professor of finance, and a person that we absolutely treasure on this program. Sir, take care. God bless. We'll have you back soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb. Looking forward to be back again.
All right, sir. Thank you much. This gentleman just absolutely is tops, in my opinion. He knows, he explains it, and everybody can understand it. Great economist, Dr. Michael Busler. Glad to have him part of the program. Right now, I know what else is part of the program, and that's the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew. Oh, my goodness sake, summertime, picnics, company parties, and everybody's out there enjoying the great outdoors. Well, maybe you need bacon. They've got all the different flavors of bacon, and they've got pork chops galore, and all the hams, and all the bratwurst. Oh, my goodness sakes, better get a hold of them today. Call them at 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Absolutely delicious meats from Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Warmer temperatures for the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather forecast for today. We are expecting sunny skies with a high of 88. Not much of a breeze to speak of. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 56. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high of 93. Slight chance of rain showers and thunder bumpers for Wednesday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of about 62. That chance of rain showers and thunderstorms going to stick around for Thursday as well. Mostly sunny skies, high of 84. Then by Friday, sunny and upper 80s. That's look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, you just can't beat that weather forecast. I'm looking out the window right now, and I do not see a single cloud. Oh, it's nice outside. Weather forecast brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Go to their website, check out all the great meats for you and your family and any occasion, scarrowsmeats.com. Remember, at Scarrows Meats, they are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Okay, let's take a look at the book here real quick. And I can't even remember who's scheduled for tomorrow. I know we've got a lady by the name of Nicole Neely coming on. Ken LaCourte's going to be here. Tori McGaff's going to be on the program. Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana is going to be on the program. And should be a full slate, and we certainly appreciate each and every person for being a part of the show. I want to thank all the folks today. Armin Brott, Dr. Michael Bustler, Dan Kish, and Adam Weiss all being on the program as guests this morning. And we always kind of wrap up the show by saying the key byline words that we really believe in. The way things were are the way things ought to be. And quite frankly, folks, how can you dispute that? We are looking at turmoil. We're looking at vandalism. We're looking at destruction of things and statues and churches in our society today by an evil left. They are evil, and they have to be stopped. And when I say the way things were, the way things ought to be, that sums it up. We've got to get back to a sense of normalcy with the words that mean the most to me on this program, in God we trust. I certainly hope you have a good day. We'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06 on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. Thanks for tuning us in. See you tomorrow. God bless.